Hi there. Happy Juneteenth. I have the day off from Crooks and Liars, and so great day to do a knitting podcast. Great to have you here. And today I am recording from my incredibly messy office. I have done that to get over any shame, because that's what this podcast is about today. It's about shame and guilt over having too much yarn. There's my, stash part of it. This dresser has miscellaneous yarn, sock yarn, shawl yarn, and baby blanket yarn in those drawers. And then I have half my bedroom closet is sweater quantities, and also some more acrylic for baby blankets. So, and then this is like these bags here are sock yarns, also more sock yarn, because I knit a pair of socks every month. Oh, by the way, I finished the June socks this morning, and I give myself an A- for lining up those stripes. I think I did a pretty good job. All right, so we're going to talk about stash, and we're going to talk about guilt, and we're going to talk about all of the garbage that goes through your mind when you're thinking about how much yarn you have and how little time you have left on this earth to knit it. And I realize that's a sensitive subject because people do have guilt about it, and also feel a certain amount of pressure to buy more yarn. I mean, I was looking at my email yesterday, and in the promotions tab, I deleted all of it and came back an hour later, and there were literally 60 emails in that promotion tab. You are the product, on the internet. You're the one who's being sold to constantly. And so if you're like me, you delight in the possibilities of all the yarn and all the knitting you could do, and you still have this tremendous guilt. So let's talk about stash. And one of the things I always start with when I talk about stash is being an artist. I have this tremendous advantage in life in that both of my parents were and are artists. My late mother was an artist. My father, who is 88, is still making art. These days, he is making these lovely little books. He designs and prints the outside of these little books. This one's a hardcover. This one's a paperback. It's plain paper on the inside. He binds them. On the hardcover one, you can see there's like this little fabric ribbon binding at the end, very professionally done. He has a frontispiece for the Toby blank notebook from Running Dog Press, which is his imprint. And they're just beautiful. They're just precious little books, little light bulb for ideas. And this one, I'll show you the inside of this one. The light bulb one isn't that gorgeous? So this is what he's doing now, and he's not selling these online, by the way. He's making them and having fun making them. So being the daughter of artists has been a tremendous advantage in life, because I connect with my knitting as an artist rather than as a crafter. And I think we tend to denigrate ourselves, particularly as women, and think that what we're doing isn't art. And it is. It really is. So I'm an artist. I make art with 2 sticks and a string. And I may knit from a pattern that someone else designed. Like, for instance, this scarf is a Casa Pinka shawl pattern, but I knit it narrower to make it a scarf, which the pattern didn't call for. Decided I didn't like this particular color of yarn in the scarf, so I crocheted some little yo-yos and embroidered and embellished it. That's not in the pattern. I just decided I didn't like this color, so I fixed it with some yo-yos, fixed another color I didn't like with some crocheted patches, and made it unique and my own. And so doing that, I'm an artist. And so I need yarn to do my art. And I always say to people when we're having these kind of conversations, no one ever told Vincent van Gogh or Pablo Picasso, look, you have too many colors of paint. Really, how many canvases do you really need? No one ever told those male artists that. And as women, we get told, well, you have too much. And I think sometimes we get caught in thinking that as consumers, that we're not worthy of the palette that we have, or that we don't think of it as a palette. We just think of it as a hoard or a stash, and it's a palette. If you knit multicolored things, you've got a palette, and you're figuring out the artwork that you're making with these things. And so I looked up a couple of patterns to show you. This is K Facets. This one is called Colors in the Mist. Colors in the Mist. And it is multi-shaded stripes on a gray background. This sweater takes 13 colors of Rowan felted tweed. Full price, it's over $280. Another designer I love. I love this sweater. Another designer I love is Stephen West. I love his stuff. This is Fantasta Stitch shawl. Takes 7 skeins of fingering, and if you buy his kit, they're high-end fingering weight yarns. 7 of them. It's a great stash buster. If you pull stuff out of your stash to make something like that, fantastic. And I really want, if I can do one thing out of this episode, I really want to encourage you to shop your stashes for making things. But here's 7 skeins, here's 13 colors, but you have too much yarn, right? No, you don't. No, you don't. So we're artists, even though it's classified as women's work and home economics, we're artists. And this is your palette. That said, you gotta live it. You gotta not do housework until you've had a chance to knit for 30 minutes a day. Just let it go, because you're a knitter and an artist, and that comes first. So I prioritize that. And I think when you start thinking of yourself that way and prioritizing your art, your family and your critics and the inner critic all of a sudden respect, because you've started to respect that you are a maker and an artist. Try it. So instead of letting your stash anxiety creep in, really treat it like a palette and treat it like Van Gogh would treat his paint. And so I want to talk a little bit about wearing it and saying I knit it myself. I know knitters who knit all the time and never wear what they knit. And that's a tragedy. Wear it. Wear it out. If you're that person who's afraid or doesn't knit for themselves or whatever, knit something for yourself, wear it. That's a good way to show to yourself and your inner critic that you're an artist. And then I want to talk a little bit about advertising in knitting, and especially hand-dyed yarns. I have seen a pattern of hand dyers come out with color of the month or limited edition color. That is a red flag right there. Limited edition is like, it is really like waving a flag at a bull. You have to have it, right? So if you see those words, beware. Color of the month, and then limited edition, and then you'll get that email, and it's a beautiful color, and it's unique, and it's limited edition, and then you get an email within 24 hours saying it's sold out. But the dyer is taking pre-orders for the color. So you can pre-order that color and get it when that dyer has had a chance to dye it for you. How did it sell out in 24 hours? They sure didn't make 1,200 skeins and have it sell out. They made 6. They made 3, maybe, just enough to photograph it for the email and then have it sell out. They sold 3 or 6 or 5 or whatever it is. I guarantee it's not 10. It's a very, very limited amount. And then they take pre-orders, and that is to manage inventory. So they are only hand dyeing that white or cream or whatever light colored wool for their customer base based on the number of customers who pay them to do it. And then that dyer doesn't have inventory they haven't sold. And that's a great way to run a business. It really is. I respect that. But if you see those words, they've sold out. It's very popular. I have to have it. Think about, that they only made 5 skeins and then it sold out. And they're taking pre-orders because they're only going to make yarn that you pay for. And so that changes, I think, the juice in your brain to say, wait a minute, do I really want this? Will this really enrich my palette? Right? Don't get triggered by limited edition, fear of missing out kind of thing. Think about put yourself in the salesperson's position and realize that they are in business, and good for them, to sell hand-dyed yarn and not have a lot of inventory sitting around, especially hand dyers who only sell online. If they don't have a brick and mortar store where they can put that inventory, then they're really in a situation where they only want to make yarn that they can sell. All right. I want to also share some ideas that I have about gamifying your stash. I'm really pro shopping your stash, and that means you have to look at your stash and go through your stash and figure out what's there on a regular basis. And that is something that a lot of people put off. They have yarn under their beds, they have yarn in the basement, they have yarn in bins, and they don't look at it nearly often enough to see what they have and what's there and enjoy it. Took a break, went to lunch, we're back. Okay, so we're talking about shopping your stash and gamifying. The whole what project to do next, what stash to use, etc., and making it fun and making it a game. First up, one of the things I do in order to make friends with my stash is I make my own kits. That doesn't mean I'm going to knit it this year. That doesn't mean I'm going to knit it in 2 years. But going through my stash, if I see a pattern I like, I make a kit out of my stash rather than going shopping for the yarn for the project. This pattern came out this year. This is Motley Hoof. It's a cowl. And I forget who designed it. I know that Stephen B. has kits for this. Madelinetosh. Oh, this is a Madelinetosh pattern. Okay. So gorgeous. Lots of color. I love that Madelinetosh had on here how many grams per color in the minis that they used for this cowl. So I can weigh my extra leftover sock yarn. I can weigh half skein, whatever, and know I have enough of a color. 14 grams each for 8 minis was what this cowl used. So I went through my stash and took a big Ziploc bag and pulled out some jewel tones and some lavender and bright green, which always looks good with dark purple and teal as an accent color. And I haven't weighed these yet, so I don't know. And I don't know that I'm going to use every one. But it's a start. And I pulled this from my stash. and put it in with a pattern, and there's a kit. And you make a couple of these, get some kits together, and you have a sense of direction for what you want to knit, and a little less impetus to shop, maybe. But certainly starting with shopping your stash. And the other thing is, too, I might need an orange or a dark gray, or although I have dark gray in my stash, of course. But I might decide, there's something missing here that I do need. And it helps you figure out, okay, I need to go look online or go to yarn store, go to Leading Men and find that color that I need to go with this. Helps you focus your shopping for what you need. And so make up a couple of kits. I have a bunch of hat kits that I put together, and I will take those sometimes to my guild meeting. I've done a few of those, taken them to my guild meeting and given them away. Just said, anybody want a hat kit? Here it is. I do that only, though, with free patterns, not paid patterns. So I'm not giving away a paid pattern to someone and sharing it with a group. Because I'm honest that way. I do that. I make up kits of things I haven't started yet. I will also go through and make a list, and I know this is painful, but make a list of your UFOs, your unfinished objects, and be aware of what you have that you haven't done yet that's sitting in a bag. Those aren't all UFOs. A lot of those are kits, but some of them are. And knowing what is there and making a list of it is, I think, important. And then here's where the gaming comes in. Right now, I know exactly what I'm knitting for pretty much for the next year, till through Christmas. I know a sock of the month through Grocery Girls. I know I've picked out the yarn for those socks, a pair of socks each month. Cowls, I'm making cowls. It's a project I'll show you later. I'm making a t-shirt for young middle child for her birthday, which is next month. So that's underway. And I can't show you that either because she watches this podcast. I'm going to finish, I think I'm going to finish a cardigan that is a UFO. So I'm set for this year. But in the past, when I wasn't set for this year and I didn't know what I was going to knit next, one of the things I do is either if I'm trying to figure out about sock yarn, what sock do I want to knit next? I take 6 skeins of sock yarn, enough for a pair of socks, and put them in a lunch bag with a number on it, 1 to 6. And then either use a die or use a random number generator and let it pick. That way I'm not picking and my brain is turning off in terms of, decision paralysis. I'm letting the random number generator pick which socks are next. And then I grab that one and I do it. Now, that's for socks. You could also do it for projects. And here's where I think it helps me overcome not working on UFOs, not working on the things that can get finished. I will tell you the story of a scarf where I had it in the UFO bag and I played this game and it was on the list and it came out as, okay, you have to work on this one. I took it out and said, okay, first thing I should do is measure it and see how much more I have to go. The scarf was done except for 5 garter ridges at the bottom. And it had sat in that closet for a year. Because I was tired of it. It was boring. So I put it away. If I had just taken the time at that time to measure it, I could have finished it that day. Lesson learned. But here's where fooling yourself a little bit helps. I will take 3 projects that I've kitted, and 3 UFOs, and either put them on a list or put them in a bag, depending. Usually on a list because a lot of my UFOs and projects are bigger than that. Okay, put them on a list, 1 to 6, random number generator, right? Put them on. Here's Motley Hoof Cow, right? Put it on a piece of paper, put it in a coffee jar, pick one, and work on it. You have 3 new projects for cast-on-itis, and you have 3 UFOs, so you might pick one that you need to work on, that you want to finish. And then the other thing that one can do, and I've done this, is random number generator 1 to 7. How long are you going to work on that UFO? If you roll and get a UFO, get an unfinished object, roll it again, 1 to 7. You're going to work on it for a day, or you're going to work on it for a week, or you're going to work on it for a month. Or, lucky number 7, are you going to work on it till it's finished? And randomizing that and making it a game really does shut down some of the decision paralysis that you get. And it also brings in a little discipline, a little kick in the rear to say, okay, one time, oh, look, it's a brand new project with lots of fun yarn in it. And I get to make this, and I'm going to cast this on today, and it's going to excite my, neurons to make a new project with lots of colors. Or it's that solid cardigan that I'm down to the endless stockinette under the underarm. And okay, I'm going to work on that. And how long am I going to work on it? I'm going to knit it I got 2, I'm going to knit it for a week. Until a week from today, I'm going to sit and do stockinette. That's going to be my project for a week or a day. Or, lucky me, I get to finish that sweater. So, it takes out the decision, but it also kicks in a little surprise discipline. And you might get, right? You might get the new thing. But you also might get a beautiful project that has been sitting in that closet for a year that has 5 garter ridges left to do. I could have killed myself. Terrible. All right. One other really crazy idea that I have used when I've gone through my whole stash and looked for, one of the things I used to do, I will tell you, I used to there's 16 members of my knitting guild. I used to put together yarns that no longer inspire me as an artist, fingering weight, because a lot of people in my guild are shawl knitters or sock knitters, and they like to knit fine yarns. So I would put I didn't number the bags, but I made 16 grocery bags of single skeins of fingering weight that I didn't want anymore. And that was the door prize for our Christmas party. And I mentioned last year that I really had run out at this point in terms of not having 16 skeins. I had done it twice, 2 years in a row. And I was to the point of like, okay, I can't do this anymore because I'm starting to get into stuff that I really want to keep. And another member of the guild picked up and said, no, I'll do it. I'm going to do that. And she Christmas wrapped 16 or more skeins of yarn and put them under the tree at our Christmas party. And we did a whole giveaway and draw names out of a hat, and you got to go under the tree and pick up what you wanted. But it's a mystery gift, right? So I was thinking about that and how you could think about it as Christmas in July, and you wake up one July morning and Santa or the Hanukkah man or whoever you think drops gifts down your chimney has given you the gift of your entire stash. That it's all new to you, and here is all this yarn, and it's yours. Here. And if you think of it that way, and hopefully your stash is paid for and you're not still paying off credit cards to pay for it, because my stash is all paid for, it's dropped in your lap. The entire stash is dropped in your lap all at once. And then you might start to see it with fresh eyes. Christmas in July, I got all this yarn. What am I going to do? And I think thinking of it that way, that you got it all at once and it came from a benevolent, impersonal gift giver like Santa, gives you a little more permission to part with stuff that, I spent a lot of money on that, or I was going to make something beautiful with that, or I need to cling to that because even though I've outgrown it, right? Well, Santa gave me this summer, and Yeah, I like it, but I don't like it enough to make space in my closet for it. And then it can go in a Christmas bag for your guild. Uh, you can put together a bin that you're going to wrap for your group, your knitting circle. You can post it to Ravelry and see, or go look on Ravelry and see if somebody's looking for that yarn. That's also a good thing to do. I found someone on Facebook who was looking for some yarn, and I was so glad to send them this yarn because I really didn't want it anymore. I just said, "Oh, you're in Alabama? I'll mail it to you. Here you go." Um, you know, I believe personally, this is just me, and I know people who sell stash on Reddit and sell stash in Facebook Marketplace and so forth, and eBay and so forth. And good for you. Some people need the money. Some people need to know that they got something back from the investment that they made in that yarn. I'm team giveaway. I'm team get it out of here. And that's not because I'm particularly wealthy. I live in this teeny tiny house where I don't have room for everything, but it's just my attitude that I had the ability to have this yarn. It's paid for. Give it back to the universe and let somebody make something beautiful out of it. And I tend not to try to. Plus, the time it takes to market used yarn on the internet is time taken away from knitting. There's a good place to end. There's knitting and there's not knitting. And you should have a big chunk of time and a big chunk of energy for your artwork and your knitting. That's the most important thing. And then there's everything else. And worrying and what's the word I'm looking for? Catastrophizing. That's right. Worrying, catastrophizing, cleaning, meal prep, all that is not knitting. Worrying, not knitting. There's knitting and there's not knitting. You should be knitting. So go knit something. And I love you. And have fun with it. And thanks for listening. Bye.